Welcome here on the Reflector podcast. This is a place of sharing where we widen our horizon and embrace together the beauty, the magic, and the mystery of life. It is a space where we can go deeper into the unknown and become the change we want to see in this world. This podcast is an invitation to embark on a journey of self-discovery and embody fully in all ourselves what it truly means to be human. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you for listening. Let's dive together. Welcome everybody on this new episode of the podcast. Very happy to share with you. We are still sharing on the topic of a nervous system and the healing of traumas. And the episode of today is part of a series where I want to explain deeper the energetic landscape of the three modes of the nervous system. So you might want to listen to the episode that is called Landscape of the Nervous System if you want to understand better what I say today. You can also listen to the previous episode on the vagal ventral, the harmony, the energetic harmony, which is the first mode of the nervous system, because today we will talk about the second mode of the nervous system, which is the sympathetic mode. And in the next episode, we will talk about the dorsal vagal, the third mode of freeze. So today is about fight and flight. The fight and flight response that comes from the autonomic nervous system when he's in this sympathetic mode. So what happens is when we are in front of a threat, without going through the conscious mind, the body is reacting to protect us. And he's protecting us by reacting in such a way that we have a lot, our senses are more acute, and we have a lot of energy. The blood pressure, the heartbeat is rising. So there is a lot of blood that is coming from the center of our being to the periphery of our being. And what happens is the resources, the reserves of energy through the catabolic process, what was in stock in our body is put in motion. Through the work of Agni, the fire is processing those reserves, those stocks of energy to make fast, quick, available energy from our system through putting sugar into our blood. So that's mainly what it does. The reserves, the stocks of energy is converted into blood to go to our sugar, to our muscles, and the blood can nourish the muscle in a very, very strong and fast way, so that we can either use this huge amount of energy either to fight or to flight. This response is unconscious, and it depends also a lot on our constitution. For the people who have strong bodies, a lot of pitta, a lot of fire, and some strong constitution, like also some earth and water, because they have some kind of muscles and know how to use them. That's Kapha Pitta type. Then they will naturally go for a combat, to fight, the response of fighting. For the one who have maybe less capacity in their muscles, less weight, and sometimes there are more Vata people, like the one who are maybe bigger but thinner, then they have more energy, like they have big legs, so they have a better chance to run away when they are faced with a threat. So their response will be according to that. According to how the five elements are in your body and your constitution, your sympathetic response will be different. So it will be more fiery or more airy according to the way you are. This is completely unconscious. And what happens is the energy is going from the center to the periphery. So in some way, what is happening is you lose a bit of contact with your inner being when you're in sympathetic mode. So the more it's activated, the more you lose the contact. And if it's just middle or low, then you can still sometimes maybe still being in contact, but mainly you lose a bit of your center because your energy goes to the periphery to protect your being. So you're not anymore in a mode like in the vagal ventral where you would receive the energy and multiply whatever you have received and then create. You're not in a receptive mode and creative mode. You are in a protective mode. That means you close yourself. Whereas the aura and the outline were emanating, pulsating in the vagal ventral, now they are closing. They are not focused on the expansion of your awareness. They are focused on the preservation, the protection of your physical body. This is basically what it is. So when in the ventral vagal, the forces are open to the soul and the expansion of the being. Now in the sympathetic, it's about protecting the ego, your separate identity. Okay? So mainly the sympathetic mode is based on fear. So in itself is not a bad thing. I think a lot of things is, sympathetic mode is terrible. No, sympathetic mode is not terrible. It's thanks to this sympathetic mode we can be protected. We can find resources when we are in situations of life and death, or this is thanks to also the sympathetic mode that life can happen on Earth, that we can sustain ourselves over time, okay, and protect ourselves from threats. So it's a very useful mode. And what happens is the axis, the hypothalamus, hypophyse, and adrenal gland will be strongly stimulated and secretes the hormones. So that's this process of catabolism, that going from the resources to very fast available energy is happening. And the thing is, in itself, is good because this is just, it moves a lot of energy within your system. When the sympathetic mode is activating, everything is moving within your system. So it brings a lot of fire. It is a lot of the fire element. So the good thing with that is that the part of your body that did not receive enough blood starts to find some blood. The energy and the circulation of information is there. That's the positive things of the sympathetic mode. Is your body is asked and pressurized to so that more energy is flowing into it. Okay, it's pushed. Naturally, it's pushed. It's like physically you're pushed to move more energy within your system. The problem is, and then it's a good thing, and it's the best thing to do is that if when you are activated in the sympathetic mode, like for example, if you take a cold bath, of course, the sympathetic system will activate itself to create the energy that is necessary for the bloods to flow and to balance the extra cold by extra heat. So it will multiply the resources of your body. And if you don't do it too much and too long, that means the stress that you imposed on yourself, you can adapt to it, and your body is stressed but is not too much stressed. So this is where it really matters, is the amount of stress you put your body through. To put the body through stress is fantastic because then it creates more circulation of the blood, it opens up the channels. It's fantastic. And then if you have enough time after to relax, to integrate the experience, that means the catabolic process is balancing by an anabolic process. That means if you did some cold exposure or you did some muscle training or whatever, then you need time for the body to come back to balance and repair whatever has been mobilized. And this is why also when after doing some exercise for muscle you get bigger muscles, because through the anabolic process there's a process of nourishment, reparation, hydratation through Soma. If Agni is the inner fire, Soma is the inner water of nourishing the body and creating new tissues. Is building is the building block of your physical constitution, and these two always have to be in balance. So you have to know that when you go into sympathetic mode, you have so much more fire in your body, and for the catabolic process to happen, this process will create some residues that are very acidic in your system. And this acidity is even more fire. So you increase a lot the fire element, and on top of that, this increase, the catabolic process will create some residue that are also full of fire. Acid is dissolving. Okay? So it is a fire element that will stay in your system. And if you don't do anything to balance that through sleep, through regeneration, through rest, and time for digestion and rest of the experience, then your body will be very much in balance. And that's what happens in the case of chronic stress. Is if your body is in a state of chronic stress, that means the sympathetic system is always activated somehow. You never really relax. And then you create too much fire within the body. And this fire will end up dissolving your tissue, eating your own tissue. And it will also make your nervous system very irritable. Because it's like it becomes very sensitive, because it's not protected by the balance of the Soma, the water element. And that means that the more your sympathetic system is activated, then the more your nervous system will be sensitive and irritable. And then the more it is irritable, the more it will activate again the reaction of the sympathetic. So it is like a vicious circle that you end up burning yourself. And this is what we call burnout. Is when you find no way out of this loop of the fire calling for more fire, and stuff. And this is also increased by the food, because a lot of the food that you will be attracted to, unfortunately, when you are too much in the sympathetic mode, is very sugary and fat food, because you're dissolving the quality of Soma, the resources and the stock, the reserves of your body, is a quality of fat and sugar. It is the dense part of you. Sugar is what gives you the grounding aspect within your physical body and within yourself. When you feel grounding, this is sugar. Grounding is sugar. So you will look for those food that have the same quality, but you will not look at it from the resonance of your physical body, but you will look at it from the resonance of your emotional self and the subconscious reaction. Because what happens when you are in the sympathetic mode is the subconscious takes over. Okay, especially when you get too triggered, the subconscious takes over. And if you start to act according to your sympathetic self and your sympathetic reaction, when you have for example, a strong reaction against somebody, if you act upon that reaction, you will confirm the separation. You will confirm that you are separated from this person, and you will close yourself even more. Okay, and this completely clouds it clouds your judgment. It clouds the natural resonance, and you will be attracted by food that are not good for you. You will want them, you will crave them, but they are not the food that will be nourishment and that will be balancing and that will give you the necessary soma, the balance of water and earth that you actually need to regulate this excess of fire due to the catabolism that is happening within your body. So beware, because often this cortisol response is clouding the judgment, and often it's not like you feel really a physical hunger. You feel that you kind of feel that you're losing your energies, because a lot of the energy is going from the inside to the outside. Okay, so what you need on an energetic level is to come back to the inside, and that is what is nourishing. It's not, because you will tend to want very heavy food to find your balance again, to find your grounding again, and this will never give it to you. What it will create is already your Agni is low, because it's not in the center of your being. It had to go and move to the periphery also to activate the muscles, okay, and to convert the reserve energy of your body, the soma, into sugar to go in your blood. So it is already very active in this part, so it's not active really to digest. So you will take very heavy food, and because Agni is already reduced, actually you have a lot of fire in your body, but Agni is very low. And then your capacity to digest this very, very heavy food is not there. So you will create even more toxicity, more toxins. And the more toxins you will create, it will create even more acidity in your body, and then you will be attracted to even more toxic food. And that's when the vicious circle is happening. And this is a vicious circle that can happen very easily in our modern society that work a lot on activating our sympathetic response. So beware when you find yourself in this situation. There's a need to reactivate the ventral vagal part of your nervous system, and this is what you're looking for, is going back into your body, and you're looking at grounding yourself. So stop all the mental stimulation and minimum inflow of information within your system. Rest maximum. Don't go for artificial lights. Find, and it can reverse quite easily if you take it not too late. But if you wait too late, then the pattern of the nervous system is so much, then the regeneration response is not even happening. Because to go back into this anabolic process, you also need Agni to be active. And when Agni starts to be really down, very low, then it might take a long time to revive it. So I am saying a lot of things here, but if we take it from the perspective of the 10 bodies, what happens is when we were in vagal ventral, in our security mode of the nervous system, the neutral mind could be activated. What happens is in the sympathetic mode is that it's negative and positive mind that are activated. You always put the protection of the negative mind, and the positive mind will find resources to validate this separation. So either by fighting or by flighting, in both ways, he's giving you the resources to validate this separation. And this positive mind will activate your body, all the resources of your body, to validate that. So what you are doing when you are in the sympathetic mode, and you stay with it too long, you are opening a door with your subconscious mind that you never close. But the subconscious mind takes over you. Okay? Because you're not so much in your body anymore, then the subconscious can take over, because the universe doesn't like vacuum. So if you are not in your body, consciously, the subconscious will take over your body, and your action will be dictated by your subconscious mind. And the more your action will be dictated by your subconscious mind, the more you manifest a light that is far from your essence. This is far from who you are. And this distance creates even more pain and even more sympathetic reaction of fight and flight. Okay, and if you go that too long, then at some point, or it's too strong, Then at some point you will get to the dorsal vagal, the third mode of the nervous system, because that's the only way the body will find to connect to the soma, to the regenerating force within yourself. So this is tricky, this sympathetic mode. This like you get into protection, so the energy goes from inside to outside or to periphery, and in periphery it is building your muscles, it's giving you your protection, like an armor of the warrior. This is what is happening when you are in sympathetic. You are more angles, more rigidity within your body and within your especially the outside part of your body, and the inner part of yourself is kind of empty. Everything goes into rigidity in the outside. So this is also when your physical body starts to take different shapes that are not really who you are, but they manifest the shape of your own subconscious. And when this is held over time, this just becomes who you are, and then your capacity for flexibility and movement is decreasing a lot. So what happens also, so the aura gets thicker, and the geometry and the angles get stronger, sharper. So less and less new information can be received. So you start to get stubborn. You confirm your ideas, and you are not even aware maybe that you are very sharp in the way you share them. And even if your voice is calm and you speak calmly and peacefully, people will perceive it as a threat or something that might be violent, because the energy that is behind is an energy of protection. It's not an energy of sharing. It's an energy of convincing the other. So of course today we don't go so much on the battlefield, so it's not that obvious, but actually any interaction that we have is either a way to receive or it's a way to try to convince the other. And if we're not in a receiving mode, then even when we share something deeply, we need to be active in this receptive self. This is very important, because when we are sharing something, we are actually receiving the impact of what we share. And that's what makes it real, because we can include the impact. This cannot happen when we are in a protective sympathetic mode. We try to convince the other, to penetrate the aura of the other, because we are not convinced ourselves. We are afraid, so we need to convince others to find some kind of security. But this is bottomless. This is endless. The more people will believe us, is just more walls we put between who we really are and who we are right now, what we are actually manifesting. So we are just increasing the gap until it might be unbearable. Okay, and when that gap becomes unbearable, we go into dorsal vagal. And sometimes this gap is unbearable because there's a big shock on the system. There's a trauma that happens that creates such a shock that we directly go in a dorsal vagal, because it's like life and death. It's all or nothing situation. And so it doesn't mean that the dorsal vagal goes only when it's too much sympathetic, slowly. It can be on the spot also. So, so if we come back to the 10 body system, then you are in the dynamic of negative and positive. And you are actually, the positive mind is confirming the block of the subconscious mind that puts the negative mind, and you're constantly confirming your habits, confirming your subconscious, justifying it. Okay. You have no access to the neutral self. So the way it will manifest is that you will need to numb yourself. So too much sympathetic in the long run creates numbness in your system. You will feel numb. There will be many areas of your system where you cannot feel, because the receptors, they used to think that we don't have juices in the adrenals at some point, and that is burnout. But they're realizing it's not about that. It's actually we burn the receptors. So we cannot receive anymore. But the adrenals are not necessarily out of fluid. It's just that we cannot receive the information anymore. It's like the receptors in the nervous system are burnt. So you confirm your own habit, you convince others, and you end up locked in your self belief, in your limiting beliefs. And your belief system becomes like a castle of protection. Okay. So you the cost to price, the price to pay is numbness, and this numbness, of course, in the flow of the energy in the pranic body, that limits enormously the amount of vitality that can flow through your system. So that might not show up early in your life if you have a good physical body in your young years and maybe first part of the life. But then if you went too much into chronic stress in the first part of your life, then in the second part of your life, this starts to show up by a lot of imbalances and disease within the physical self. Because then the pranic body is not flowing anymore. There are so many numb and discontinuity in some part of it that this needs to be processed by the body. But at some point, if this is too much, and this is what happens in our society, that these are too much conflicts that our body cannot even process through physical disease. So we start to degenerate our own nervous systems, which we forget. These are the Alzheimer disease, the Parkinson disease. We go through degeneration of the nervous system. These are civilization sickness that we cannot deal with the amount of subconscious that is appearing. And the only way to go through that is to regulate the nervous system. This is why work on the nervous system is the most important, so you can balance the rest of the systems within your body. That's why Vata dosha, which governs the nervous system, is the king of the doshas, because it governs then all the process of transformation that is appearing through the vehicle of Pitta dosha, and the process of nourishment and structure that is happening through Kapha dosha. The whole Agni-Soma balance within your system, fire and water, is appearing because of the balance of your nervous system. Your vagal ventral is the one who maintains the homeostasis, the temperature, that allows you to be always on the thin line of balance between Agni and Soma. When you go into too much sympathetic, Agni will be too much, and then Soma will be burnt, and this is burnout. When you will go too much into the dorsal vagal, then that will be, Soma will be too much, but then Agni is gone. And that's why you can end up even going to suicide or whatever, because you have no willpower, no fire anymore. Okay, so you understand the dynamic is there in the sympathetic mode. When it's activated, you're kind of pushed into the outside of your being, so you have no connection to who you really are, to your prakriti, your own balance of the elements. What actually happens when you're in a reactive mode of fight and flight is your energetic structure is taking is reacting to the shape of your environment. It's in a reactive mode to the shape of your environment, and it's not balanced on your tattvas, on your elements anymore. And this can only go for so long. But if it's short, then this imbalance, when you can then have a time of relaxation and meditate with this imbalance for some time and let the body adapt and transform according to it, then it's a new information that you can integrate in your system. So the best is, this is what we call the vagal break, vagus break. Is this capacity we have to go from sympathetic to ventral vagal, sympathetic to ventral vagal. And the more we activate this pathway there, the more we become resilient. And this is how we can then really give a lot of flexibility, adaptability to our nervous system. Because we increase its capacity to digest information by bringing it new one that it is able to digest. So the key here is to create what we call positive stress. That means a stress that is enough for you to confront you, but not too much that it creates a block and such a strong reaction that you get into some kind of trauma. That you pressurize yourself in that so you can recover from it. That's the sign that it's the good stress. That means quite easily and on a short term you can recover from it. And the more you do that, the higher the stress you can put in your system, the higher the adaptation of your nervous system. And then that's how you stretch your vagus nerve. And you allow more and more reaction. You become more tolerant. Okay? So what happens is the other bodies in the sympathetic mode is because the neutral mind is not accessible, we don't have access to a larger perspective. And then the information that is actually the magic of life, what we call the subtle body, is actually what is beyond the veil, is what could be nourishing for us and a source of connection to our soul and the mystery of life, becomes very limited, and we are entangled into what we see. That means our aura is only what we see. We can perceive subtlety when the aura is transparent. But when the aura is clogged, you cannot perceive the subtlety of life. You become very gross, very material oriented, okay? And very narcissistic. It's all about you. So what you start to project on the outside is your own fear. Is when you're in sympathetic mode, you don't see people for who they are. You are in a mode that will detect threat. So you become paranoiac. You become afraid of everything, consciously or unconsciously, but you see everything as a potential threat that you need to protect from. So you don't analyze the faces of the people correctly. You don't have to analyze the shades of color in the proper way. You will always project your own fear into it. So that diminishes enormously the amount of people you can meet, the amount of interaction in which you can be. And it diminishes enormously the amount of life you can receive. Okay, so not only physically you lose a lot of vitality, but also on a psychic level, the mindset, your mindset that you have is a mindset of protection and fear. Okay, so everything that could give you expansion and relaxation, you will even feel it's suspicious. This is very strange. But the more you go and the more you stay in this sympathetic mode, the more you go away from situations which are actually benefiting you and your overall vitality. Okay, so sometimes the best way is also to take it not from the mind, but to take it from the body and to do something that is opposite to what you would usually normally do. These are things that can work. That you stop to say it from the mind and you stop believing and acting upon your fears or whatever you naturally would go to or not go to. And you start to go things the opposite. And that starts to reshape your magnetic field and your aura, and that it's very strange to say, but that's one way it can start to give you access to the ventral vagal again, because you can realize that actually something you think would be fearful or would be bad or negative for you is actually very nourishing, very stabilizing, very balancing. So this is one way also you can work on the regulation of your nervous system. You know, remember, ventral vagal is a lot related to the unknown. So when you're so much into sympathetic, you just confirm what you know, because this is your security. So one way is to pass through that. We call it gutka. You don't think about it. You don't process it or analyze it. You just go to the opposite action. And it's one very good way to open new pathways in the nervous system. Okay, I said a lot of things. Again, if you have any questions, don't hesitate. We could go much more deeper into that, and I will probably go into that more details in different ways and different themes. But if you have some specific things that you would like that I share more, please don't hesitate to ask. This is my wish, that you find regulation of your nervous system in this lifetime, and that you really can feel what it is to be in your physical body and feel at home within it. And to find resources in this sympathetic activated mode of the nervous system that is actually also making us very alive, because it is also awakening a part of us that is alert. So finding the balance between those two is very important. Thank you for listening all this way. Thank you very much. Satnam.